With the authority of the Council, I shall now confer the degree of Doctor of the University. I call upon the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, to make this presentation.
Chancellor, the Council of the University has resolved to award the degree of Doctor of the University to Mr. Graham Tucker, AO MBE. Graham Tucker was born in Brisbane in May 1929 and educated at Junction Park State School and the Church of England Grammar School. He left school before completing senior and commenced work in the State Auditor General's Department in 1945. He continued with night studies, completing the examinations for local government auditing and for admission to the then Federal Institute of Accountants and the Chartered Institute of Secretaries. His business career started in 1948 when he left the Auditor General's Department to join the accounting firm Chas A. Clark & Son, now known as KPMG Pete Marwick. When he retired in June 1986 after almost 40 years' service, the firm practiced in 10 locations in Queensland, had over 100 partners Australia-wide and over 130 staff in Queensland. As a member of the firm's management committee for over 20 years, national chairman from 1970 to 1974, and senior partner in Queensland for 10 years, Graham Tucker played a key role in his firm's growth and development. His work as a practicing accountant was highly acclaimed, particularly in relation to assisting companies experiencing financial difficulties. He was regarded as the foremost corporate reconstruction practitioner in Queensland and was responsible for administering most of the major company failures for a period of 20 years. A number of these companies were traded back to profitability or their affairs rearranged so that jobs were retained for staff and creditors suffered no or minimal loss. Of particular significance was his engagement to provide special assistance to the state government, Treasury Department and Commission for Corporate Affairs during the 1970s Building Society crisis. Other outstanding contributions during his professional career included his many years of service on the Brisbane Chamber of Commerce, including a term as president from 1971 to 1973, as well as service on the Australian Chamber of Commerce as deputy president from 1970 to 1979. Over the last 20 years, Graham Tucker has established a reputation as one of the state's most respected businessmen. As a board member and director of an extraordinary number of private and public companies, he is without peer in terms of experience and breadth of industry coverage. His chairmanships include Suncorp, Queensland's largest financial institution, Stradbroke Ferries Proprietary Limited, the Merchant Bank, Graham & Company Limited, Hooker Corporation Limited, and DBF Holdings Proprietary Limited. He is also currently a director of Queensland Cement Limited, Bank of Queensland Limited, Securities Exchanges Guarantee Corporation Limited, and a deputy chairman of Evans Deakin Industries Limited. Past directorships have included such notable companies as the oil and gas producer Crusader Limited, Bundeng Limited, which he rescued from liquidation, Australian Provincial Newspapers Limited, Carricks Limited, New Zealand Petroleum Company Limited and the Queensland Industry Development Corporation. Graham Tucker's work, however, has not been solely business-oriented. He has served on the Queensland Youth Orchestra Business Advisory Committee, the National Heart Foundation of Australia, Prince Charles Hospital Development Centre Trust, the Library Board of Queensland, the Faculty of Economics and Commerce at the University of Queensland, and the Council of North Brisbane College of Advanced Education, amongst others. In a career spanning more than 4 decades, Graham Tucker has made an enormous contribution to business and the community. In recognition of his many significant achievements, he was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire in 1982 and an officer in the Order of Australia in 1991 for services to the business community. In December 1991, he was presented with the Australian Annual Award for Distinction by the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia, and in October 1994 was recognised as an outstanding Queensland Company Director when presented with the 1994 Gold Medal Award by the Queensland Division of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Graham Tucker has been described by his peers as a director of impeccable integrity and high ethics, with a rare combination of ability, drive, insight and foresight. He has a strong belief in the work ethic, which is reflected in his busy lifestyle, and is a strong advocate for business to create wealth and employment opportunities, especially for youth. Throughout his career, he has led by example. It is especially fitting that the Council of Griffith University should honour Graham Tucker in recognition of his distinguished contributions to business and the community. Chancellor, it is with great pleasure that I present to you Graham Tucker for admission to the degree of Doctor of the University.
I now call upon Mr. Graham Tucker, AO, MBE, Doctor of the University, to deliver the occasional address.
Chancellor, the Chief Justice, the Honourable John McCrossan, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, and Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Professor Michael Irving, members of Council and of the Advisory Council, academic staff, graduates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honour to be acknowledged by Griffith University, particularly in its 25th year with the bestowal of an honorary doctorate. I thank the University for this unexpected recognition and admit to feeling humbled upon being added to the list of distinguished previous recipients, a list which includes a number of great Australians. It is gratifying for me that my wife, members of my family, and some friends have been able to be present. Anything I have achieved in my career has been with the great support of my wife, and I share this occasion with her. Tonight, I particularly address my remarks to the new and younger graduates. To rephrase something that Churchill once said in a different context, the achievement of your degree is not the beginning of the end, it is only the end of the beginning. During your years at university, you will have faced some of the realities of life, the struggle to succeed, perhaps disappointment along the way, even a failure to overcome, and of course the need to exercise self-discipline and the personal control necessary to study and pass your examinations. I have the utmost admiration for those who seek a university degree when married, perhaps with children, and who have to combine the responsibilities of family, work, and study. I take my hat off to any who succeed in juggling these commitments. But now you face the long task of building a career. This is not a sprint, but a long-distance event. It is with that in mind I propose to make some comments as to how you should live through your careers and meet the challenges that lie ahead concerning the economic problems we face in this nation, and give a little advice from my own experience. Australia is not receiving any high distinctions on the economic front. We have a balance of payments problem. We have borrowed and continue to borrow to support a standard of living which is not supportable given our economic problems. Much of what has been statistically defined as monies borrowed for investment has not been directed into assets or ventures which increase the production of goods or services, which earn export income or reduce imports. We have been poor savers, but great consumers. In addition, we have failed to match population growth and business needs with infrastructure development. Our relative productivity has been poor, and we can see the result of all this in Australia's fall down the league table of per capita income since 1950. Back in the 50s, Australia was amongst the half dozen richest countries in the world. By 1993, we had slid down to number 15 on the list, and now we rank about number 20. I don't want to sound too gloomy, but this is what you face out there. This is not to suggest that opportunity does not abound. It just means, I believe, that ultimate success in your careers is harder to achieve than when I started out at a young age. What does all this say about us as Australians? Does it reflect our desire to take out more than we are prepared to put in? Are we as a nation willing to tolerate this situation to the detriment of future generations? The harder question is, are we as individuals prepared to put in more, to be contributors, to correct this slide? There will be some pain to be borne by this nation if it is to regain some of its economic stature and to be better positioned to match it in this competitive world. But what can an individual do? Well, he or she can at least perform throughout a career to the best of what that person is capable. It is important to have a personal vision, to plan a career path, to have goals, and to remember to put something back along the way. Have a philosophical approach that goes beyond money and achievements solely for the individual, that goes beyond self. Build into your vision a picture of how your efforts can contribute to the improvement of the productivity of this nation, to its growth, and the flow-on effects that arise as a consequence. Remember that a high standard of personal performance in the workplace will help boost productivity, lift incomes, and through tax, help government to pay those in real need without the continual deficit financing of recent years. As you proceed in life, build a reputation as a person of integrity, of intellectual honesty, competence, and as one who gives more than one receives. These attributes form the fundamentals of a good reputation. A good reputation can take years to build, but can be lost overnight. So guard it fiercely and never compromise on standards or on matters of principle. As you grow in business or in a profession, continue to study to develop professional skills. One of the biggest challenges confronting us in this rapidly changing world is how to remain in business and how to remain employable. For the future, it will not be possible to travel through life with the same toolkit of skills we start with. New tools will be needed. Existing skills may have to be discarded along the way, and some skills undoubtedly will have to be sharpened from time to time. One of the most important skills needed in the modern world is the ability to communicate. This is an enduring requirement, especially now in this information age. Budding business owners or company executives will be called upon to sell their company's products or services, present a business plan to a board or bank, float ideas, argue persuasively, pacify angry customers, deal with the media, prepare an interactive presentation for the internet, and very importantly, communicate with employees. All this probably in one day and possibly every day. Another skill that needs to be developed is the ability to make decisions. I can remember some years ago that one of the very early management gurus by the name of Drucker once said, in business, it doesn't so often matter, really, as far as management is concerned and the outcome, whether you say yes or no. But what does matter is that the decision is made. Well, things have probably changed since he wrote those words, or words to that effect, and the world has become, since then, a very complex and sometimes frightening place. And on the face of it, a decision can be surrounded by a huge number of issues. Distill the problems, the issues, the writings that surround any major decision to those very few aspects which weigh on and comprise the significant advantages and disadvantages of a course of action. As you look at these, remember that prudence is the first son of wisdom, and that risk-taking is inherent in life, and find which way the scales dip on each occasion. Have respect for what can be learnt from the University of Hard Knocks. Or to express it another way, be prepared to learn not only from your mistakes, but more particularly learn from and seek advice from others who have already travelled in the real world of the marketplace. Have heroes. Make heroes of those who are or were outstanding contributors in business, in science, in medicine, in academia, or in any of the other really important callings in life. Don't be afraid of making role models of those who have attributes that are worth emulating. Unfortunately, it seems to me that we have something of a national tendency to make heroes of pop stars, sports people, and of those who receive undue exposure on the electronic media. Sport can teach us about perseverance and going after personal best. And I don't knock it. But I accept sport for what it is. And if it is enjoyed for the exercise and the pleasure it gives when we participate, or from the aspect of reasonable relaxation in leisure time. However, I am of the view that Australians should grant more respect to our higher achievers in the more important fields that affect us in life, and be less concerned about our prowess and record as a sporting nation. As examples of those who were high achievers for this nation, I mention the contribution that two great industrialists, namely Sir Reginald Ansett and Sir Leslie Thies, brought to our society during my lifetime. These were two men who single-handedly started small businesses, one a bus run and subsequently a one-plane operation, which then grew into a great national and now an international airline. The other commenced a small earth-moving and tree-pulling business which developed into a major coal mining company and from which Sir Leslie Tees virtually single-handedly developed Australia's great coal exports with Japan. Try and ensure that you work for an organisation that provides products or services that are of top quality, that are value for money, and that meet real needs. You that can then be proud of what you do and feel that your efforts are truly worthwhile. Remember that ambition is a fine thing, but excessive ambition can be very dangerous, as it often counsels attainment at any cost. The era of the 80s was littered with the failures of those who were overly ambitious and greed motivated. Essentially, what I have said tonight is that despite the rapid change that is occurring in so many aspects of life, nevertheless there are old truths which remain as applicable today as they were in the past. Have a vision and live by a code which is more than one just associated with your own monetary reward. Many of my generation, and I include myself in this respect, have always believed that we work not only to support our families and our homes, but also to provide a future for our children and grandchildren. A future in which they can expect the chance to succeed provided they work hard and earn their success. Accordingly, we sought to create that future by growing sound, worthwhile and ethical business enterprises which would create long-term employment opportunities, make profits, whilst at the same time meeting real community needs. I conclude by congratulating those of you who are here tonight and who have received their degrees, and I wish everyone success in the years to come.